You're watching the Coaches Roundtable on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. Welcome to Coaches Roundtable. I'm Ed Codi. To my right, the Swami George Abraham. To my left, the Tiger Albert Campman. Happy New Year to all of you from all of us. We've been on a 3-week hiatus. So much has happened. Let's get to it. Honors, football. Pine Richland quarterback Cole Spencer, the Post-Gazette 5A Player of the Year, and the Pennsylvania State 5A Player of the Year. Beaver Falls running back Josh Huff. He's the high school version of Derrick Henry. He's the Post-Gazette 2A Player of the Year. Albert, I'm hearing more and more he's going to be running back at Syracuse.
Well, if he is, I'll be surprised. I'll tell you that, because I've seen him play personally, and just does not have a burst for Division I. He's a big guy that just
6'3", 240.
Overpowers high school kids.
So you see him as what, a defensive end?
Yeah, I think the reason I think Eddie.
Yeah.
I think he can go to
280,
280 easily. Yes. So I'll be surprised if he is.
Here's a big kid, Nathan Waltman, 6'5", 240 of Karn City, the middle linebacker tight end. He was named the Keesack Big School Division Defensive Player of the Year. And in soccer, Dakota King of Karn City. He was the Upper Allegheny Valley South Division Player of the Year. And coaching honors in football, Eric Kasparovich of Pine Richland, Pennsylvania 5A Coach of the Year. Joe Sherwin of Karn City. He's the Keesack Big School Coach of the Year. Soccer, Mars girls coach Blair Gerlach named the National Coach of the Year. Seneca Valley soccer coach George Williams of the boys. He's the Regional Large School Boys Soccer Coach of the Year by the U.S. Soccer Coaches Association. So many honors throughout our district for soccer players and volleyball players and football players too. Coaches, just another fabulous year.
Absolutely, not surprised. I saw that kid from Karn City play the linebacker. He had 1 million tackles against Wilmington. He really did.
He can run. He's an outstanding.
We saw him that year.
I can't understand why Division I schools have not pursued him.
Great. Depends how he can run.
He's a 4.0 student. He can run. He plays basketball. Guys, high school sports. When we were last on the air, they just got underway. Then there was a 3-week shutdown of the winter sports. They're going to start up again. Basketball, the WPL says it's going to be an open playoffs. I'm not sure I understand this. Why not do what you did in football, reduce the schedule, reduce the number of participants, only take the top 2 teams out of sections and play them? Why this open playoff scheme? They haven't had it for, 40 years? Now you're going to have maybe a 2-16 team playing an 18-0 team.
I imagine you could opt out, number one. Number two, after one night, half the schools are going. It sounds more daunting than it is, and I think when you don't have a full season, it's probably fair.
Eddie, I think it's a great decision. Let me tell you why. Yes.
Okay.
There could be a team that loses 3 of the 4 of their players for 6 games. They lose all 6. They're the best team in the league. Ohio State's the example.
They get a chance to come back.
Yes. They get a chance to play no playoff. And you say, how does this team lose 6 games? Well, they didn't have their players. So I think they're thinking about COVID. They're thinking, if these teams, we have to do it this way, so we give it a fair opportunity for every team that might get sick.
And I don't think people realize how quickly half the field's going. It's like the other day, the NCAA one place. Well, after 2 days, there's 16 left.
Exactly.
And how about this? There are 60 teams that said they will only play games with masks. So if they come and the opponent doesn't want to wear a mask at their home site, they're not going to the game.
It's crazy. Now, at first, I
then
thought
that becomes a forfeit.
I was going to ask that. Does it become a forfeit? I thought I was right then. I thought it did that.
I'm pretty sure
I saw a game last night. The gals all had. It was a college game. It was the first time I noticed they all had them on.
So some schools are adamant about it. Others are not. They're going to wear their mask when they're sitting on a bench, but not when they're out there on a court.
Yeah, I just wish we've said it before, that somebody would step up and say, "Here's what everybody has to do." You understand? That's all I want. Either decision I'll go with. But everybody's scared to step on
Absolutely.
somebody else's toes.
So in the WPL and the PIAA, they leave it up to the schools.
Yes, they do.
Then there's where you have a conflict, like you're going to go
Yeah,
play
he doesn't wanna wear a mask.
Newcastle or
Well,
Fairfield, and
yeah.
he says, your team doesn't wear masks, we're not playing you.
Exactly.
How about
Well, that leads into a lot
I don't
of
want to
things.
do it again, but I'm just saying this, they're wrestling.
Yes, they are.
Are they wrestling with masks?
Ed.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
think so. You
I
see
don't
what
know,
I
I
mean?
haven't
I would
heard.
say no.
What about in swimming?
Same exact thing. What do you do? What do
You
do?
can't wear a mask.
Can't wear a
What-
mask.
what-
I mean,
But swimming, no, I'd say no.
Well, we'll find out in the coming weeks
Yeah.
what's going to happen. As we sit here, I'm going to say, I hope I'm wrong, there'll be lots of cancellations throughout the
I don't think you're
season.
wrong. Oh, no, no way. There's no way you're wrong. No way.
Well, I'm
You can tell, I'll
thinking-
tell you how you know. Look at us three today.
Yes.
We're a little different looking, aren't we,
But I'm
guys?
thinking that the coaches whose schools are back in are going to encourage their kids to stay virtual so they don't get
Makes
into
sense,
one of
doesn't
those situations where they have to sit because the kid beside them got it.
Makes sense.
I would be shocked if the coaches don't tell their kids, stay virtual till the season's over. I don't know that.
Well, we're going to find out. It'll
Right.
be interesting. Let's go to our stories of the week. The NFL, Week 17, Cleveland 24, the Steelers 22, the Browns 11-5 make the playoffs for the first time since 2002. The Steelers 12-4, they become the third seed in the AFC. Quarterback Mason Rudolph, he stepped in, hasn't played in a year, 315 yards, 2 TDs, an interception, and a quarterback rating of 89. How do you guys evaluate him?
Much better than I thought he would do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not on his checklist. I'm not high on him, and he played his best I've seen him play in 2 years. I thought he played pretty well.
Played with a lot of
Threw the
confidence.
long ball better than we thought.
Yes.
You know, but I struggle with games like that when both teams don't have their full team.
Yeah, much was said about the Steelers arresting Pouncey and Hayward and Watt and Big Ben, but the
Yeah.
Browns were without 5 players themselves and then lost Peoples-Jones with a concussion
closed their facility
early in the
today.
game. They closed their
And
facilities today.
Duvrier's out for the year.
Two more coaches, including Stefanski, have come down with COVID. He will not coach during the game. Another 2 more players, including, they didn't mention, one of their star players has come down. Is it Chubb? Is it Hunt?
Oh my!
Is
man.
it Mayfield? Who
This
is it?
is so crazy.
The NFL, do you want to play this game with the Browns missing a lot of their star players
I
and their
don't.
coach?
I don't, but I don't know what to do. How
You
do
move
do
it to next Wednesday because you have to give
Is that how you
Stefanski
do it?
10
Next
days.
Wednesday, okay.
He needs 10 days. He's out on the protocol. They already missed last week a starting Pro Bowl defensive back, middle linebacker, several other players. So I'm not sure what you do in this situation.
See, and I'm always skeptical. Like the dude for New Orleans needed to play Sunday to be eligible. Boom, they play Sunday. He could have played Saturday and been out. Their star, Kamara.
Yes.
Yes, he had COVID. Now, Cleveland rushed for 192 yards, 6.2 average, 108 by Chubb. Even Mayfield ran the ball in a couple key situations. He was a pedestrian, 17 of 27, 196 yards, but he had a 97 quarterback rating. The Steelers rushed for 85 yards. That's their best in 7 games. 20 of those came from Josh Dobbs. The running game's still not there. I'm going to say this, their offensive line, when it comes to blocking, I think that's the worst blocking offensive line in the NFL. They do a good job pass protection, but this is what they do. This is what happens when you throw the ball 45, 50 times a game.
Well, they've proven that all year, Eddie, that they're not a good run blocking team.
And they're not going to run it all of a sudden.
I think Cleveland's a dangerous team because of that. I hate to say that I'm on Eddie's line.
'Cause they run.
Well, you're one of the first to say it. Everyone else is saying this is going to be a blowout win for the Steelers, 10 or
Oh,
more
no,
points.
the reasons.
The so-called experts.
But they don't give reasons, though. I'm giving a reason that Cleveland runs the football better than anybody in the league. Cleveland had 3 of the top-rated offensive linemen in the whole NFL this year. Top at their position. They're a great offensive line. Now, if that's the sick part of their team, then Pittsburgh will beat them bad.
Now, if Chubb's out, let's say it's Chubb.
But Hunt's really good. Hunt is really good.
Hunt's really good,
Not a big block
but
block.
you lose that 1-2 punch that they're accustomed at having. Now the Steelers 1-4 down the stretch. The only one good half, the second half against Indy, and they got a break there. I might be the only one saying this. Hilton was interfered with on a pass at the goal line. It was never called. He was grabbed from behind from Fitzpatrick. They get a real break there. Where do we see the Steelers going here? They're favored by 4.5 in this second game.
Well, you could tell by the line, 4.5. You know, usually a team that's what they think's dominating will be like Baltimore, favored on the road. Pittsburgh will have to get some turnovers. That's Eddie, I'll circle it. Their defense has really let them down lately. They're not getting turnovers. And if you don't get them, the way they play, they go 3 and out a lot, Pittsburgh does. You know, 1, 2, 3 out.
And you could run the ball on the Steelers.
Well, that's what I'm worried about. I told you, I said to do that.
And now for the Browns, Peoples-Jones, questionable concussion protocol. Olivier Vernon, their outstanding defensive end, 8 sacks. He's
Don't
out.
miss him.
ACL. And Joe Hayden's out for the Steelers.
Well, is Hayden out? He's not coming
Hayden's
back?
out. No,
Well, I didn't realize that. That's a big thing.
He doesn't have enough time under
Okay,
the
not knowing.
I think he's like a day
protocol.
or two short or something, so they have to win to get him back, in other words.
Or if the game's, if they don't play Sunday night, do they move it to Monday night, Tuesday night? Interesting to
Cleveland's
see what they're
weakness
going
hurts
to
them
do.
against Pittsburgh, though. Their secondary is the weakest part of their team.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh.
Yes,
And Pittsburgh
the vulnerable D.
Pittsburgh really has a lot of good receivers.
Now, when
They
you
get you a lot of places.
when you say that vulnerable D, Ben is the 31st ranked quarterback in average passes, 6.31 yards a pass.
He does do a
It's
lot
the
of
lowest level in the NFL.
The last game against Indy, though, give me hope that they finally figured out, so we better throw some 4 or 5 down the field, and they did. And then they carried over with last game against Cleveland. So I have hope that they've changed a little bit. They'll dump, and then beat you down the field. Let's hope they do that.
Now, I hear everyone talking about the pressures on which quarterback to win in the NFL. Is it Brady? Is it Breeze who's maybe going out? I think it's on Roethlisberger and Steelers and Tomlin because they won 3 playoff games in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
They have something to prove.
There's expectations high in this area, you know that. Pittsburgh fans are so spoiled. They think you're supposed to be in the playoffs every year. They think they're supposed to win games. It's not easy. When you get in this playoff game, I wish I could snap your finger and say, oh, you're going to win. It's not easy. There's one way it's easy, if you have Brady. Ask Belichick.
You know, if I hear one more so-called expert analyst say, well, if you put pressure on this quarterback getting his face, he'll have problems. True of anyone who's ever played
Every
since Otto
quarterback ever.
Graham. They say that about Brady. Yeah, it's true about Breeze. It's true about Ben.
Every.
You see any quarterback could throw off his back
No.
or with
No.
the defensive front in his face? I don't know where they come up with these
They do that all the
analysis.
time, but if you get up the middle, well, yeah, that's because they step up.
Now, the most impressive win over the weekend, I was just stunned. I thought Miami would go into Buffalo and just give them fits, and Buffalo rolled over them 56-26. Josh Allen, 3 more touchdown passes. The Colts are at Buffalo this Saturday. Buffalo by 7. Rivers 5-6 in playoffs.
Eddie, your statements you made throughout the years are really coming to play here. You always said, when are you supposed to be playing your best ball?
The last.
And that's Buffalo. There's nobody close to
They're
playing
following the
like
Belichick
Buffalo. Yeah,
plan. He
Buffalo
says,
is playing the best.
Belichick says you win championships in December.
Buffalo's playing nobody close right now.
Their
I'm talking
defense
about,
is so much better.
Yes, offensively and defense. They've improved their defense a lot too. Yes.
Yeah, Pittsburgh has to go there if it follows form. The one thing that could really mess this thing up is if a bottom seed like Baltimore wins in the first round.
Well, we're going to get to that game. Let's go to Derrick Henry. You know, Jim Brown was my favorite runner of all time. I love to watch Derrick Henry. 2,000-yard rushing season after a career-high 250 yards rushing and a 41-38 win over, who did they beat? Houston. And on his last 20 games, guys, he's rushed for 2,600 yards, the most of anyone in NFL history over a 20-game span.
Yeah, one of the things they do, they use Tannehill as a runner, and so they give the ball to Henry, and you can't jump him because if Tannehill doesn't give it to him and comes out the backside, they come up with big plays.
Which he did for a touchdown.
They come out with
He
big plays.
kept a couple big ones. What amazed me, Houston makes this great comeback, and they get the ball back with a handful of seconds. Tannehill asks, are we going to kneel it? No.
Down the field.
Bomb.
Bomb. I saw it.
Yeah, the only thing about Tennessee, their defense is so bad.
Oh, yeah.
They score 400 and give up 400.
It's weak. It's weak. And
Secondary is one of the worst.
one of the things that Tennessee does in the playoffs, and they did it last year, they keep the ball away from the other team. Henry,
that's a key.
Henry, one pass.
Without Derrick Henry, I think they're like a 5-11 team.
And don't forget too, Ed, when you give the kind of money they gave Henry and Tannehill, you can't have a good
The
defense.
defense is hurting.
Great point, George.
Hey, the fountain of youth, Tom Brady. We sat here a month ago and said, "Man, he doesn't look like he has it anymore." 399 yards, 4 touchdown passes, and Tampa's 44-27 win over Atlanta for the year. 43-year-old Brady, 40 touchdown passes. He's the third leading passer in the NFL, and he's thrown the ball deep. Hey, he's found a new partner. Antonio Brown caught 10 or 11 for 120 yards on Sunday.
Well, Antonio Brown's the number one receiver in every other team. He's the third receiver on that team. Think about the weapons they have. But the biggest thing is Tampa Bay's offensive line has stepped up. And Eddie, we just talked about 3 minutes ago. If Brady's on his back, he looks lousy.
Yeah.
And now they're getting protection.
He'll need it Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or
Washington.
Saturday. It's the Skins.
Washington.
Yes.
They come.
They are favored by 8 in that
it's
game.
climbed, but several of those games came out and automatic, like the experts, whomever they are, thought that they weren't high enough. Buffalo went up. That game went up just like that.
I just don't see Washington with enough weapons to
Can't
beat
score.
Tampa. I think their defense is very good, and Chase Young will give them fits initially, but I think Tampa finds a way to get themselves
Well, so do I.
24,
8-point
27. Can Washington score 30 points on them to win the game?
No.
The rest of the playoffs, Baltimore at Tennessee Sunday, the Ravens by 4. How about the Ravens? They killed Cincinnati 38-3 and rushed for 400 yards.
Yeah, I don't like that line at all. I called George immediately. I don't. Baltimore's playing good, but I think they beat Cincinnati, beat Jacksonville, and they beat somebody, three lousy teams of the year, and now everybody's raving about them. It's hard.
I like the Ravens' defense being better
It's
than
better.
Tennessee.
It is better, but I don't like being favored on the road.
That's what I told Al. The other thing too with the Ravens, they're one of those teams when they get on a roll. Like I was reading stats on when a team's favored by as many points as they were Sunday. They rarely cover in the NFL, and they cover every time.
They do.
They love to beat you up.
And the winner will be?
I think the Ravens.
I'm taking Baltimore too. He says it.
I love Baltimore coming to play. That's the team I thought was a scary team. I can't go against Tennessee at home. I'll take Tennessee.
All right, the Rams at Seattle, that's Saturday at 4:40. The Rams, man, they struggle on offense lately. The Seahawks favored by 4.5. I still like Russell Wilson. I'm going to take the better quarterback in this game.
And I'm taking the Rams. So I just think the best.
Are you expecting the quarterback back?
I think that, yes.
Okay.
He's coming back. I think the best defense in the NFL is the Rams. I think the Rams have the best defense in the NFL.
But their offense doesn't scare me.
Oh, no, their offense is bad, but I think.
They'll take Metcalf right out of that game.
I think Seattle's out taking out of this game.
Seattle has played much better defensively the last 4 weeks.
You know that kid from Jacksonville.
Rams will take him out.
He'll take Metcalf right out of that
He
game.
did it last time, yes.
Hey, Bears 8-8 at the Saints 12-4. The last rodeo for Breeze. The Saints really playing well. You talk about a team that's defense is hot. It's the Saints.
Yeah, they both sides of the ball. Kamara's a big time back. George said he's going to be back for the game, so that helps. That helps a lot.
By a day.
I'm a big Bears Trubisky guy. They have played excellent football the last 6 weeks, and
Yes.
but I don't think they can beat the Saints.
They'll have to score 41.
Not to score a lot of points.
They'll have to score.
I don't see them putting up that many points.
I'm going to call the upset there. How about that? I'm going to call it now. I'll say that. I'll say the Bears are an upset.
I'm going to say the Saints 27-10.
Okay.
I don't think you're close to enough points.
And NFL power rankings, I still have Kansas City number 1, 14-2 with a bye. But boy, their last 5 or 6 games, they won by an average margin of 4 points. Mahomes has been sacked 8 or 9 times the last 3 or 4 games. I'm not sure what's going on there. Are they bored? Are we going to see a different Kansas City team come out after their bye week?
I think, Eddie, you've been on fire again today. That layoff was good for you.
I was struggling before.
No, I think that's it. I think Kansas City has been bored. I do. They just jump on people so much.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have not played their best for a while. I worry about can you turn it on though. You said that.
But the question is, will Halar be back? Will he be back? He's been hurt with a knee injury.
I think he is coming back.
They'll need to run the ball some.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, if the worst seed wins, if it's Baltimore, they go there next.
Baltimore's not scared of them.
No.
Baltimore's not scared of anyone.
No, they're not.
Hey, my number 2 seeded team, ranked team, is Green Bay, 13-3. You know, I said 5-6 weeks ago, I thought their defense was terrible after Tampa crushed them down in Tampa. But boy, Matt LaFleur's turned it around. Their defense has really gotten better. And what are you going to say about Aaron Rodgers? How do you stop this guy? And like you said before, you have to go to play in Green Bay in a cold weather, it's over.
I called him the other day. I said, I know who I have.
Yeah.
Especially if it's New Orleans, who plays inside. This guy, the receiver for the Packers. I have never seen a guy.
Adams is something special.
Like, it's icy and snowy, and he's running around loose. They can't cover him.
Number 3, Buffalo.
Ballatieri, they lost the best offensive lineman in football.
They did. They lost the left tackle.
Don't go around that one.
They moved the guard too.
Yeah, that's when you start moving people around in the offensive line.
Did a pretty good
we'll
job.
See what happens.
Did a pretty good job of.
Yeah, I know, but they're playing better teams now. These are the better teams. That's what happened. These are the better teams.
I'm going to say I see them winning the NFC and making it to the Super Bowl.
I think everybody's picking them. I really believe everybody's picking Green Bay.
And then Buffalo's my 3rd ranked team, Baltimore 4th, and I'm going to say this: one of these teams, Buffalo or Baltimore, I see them possibly beating Kansas City and making it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I do. I see an easier run for Green Bay in the NFC than I do that Kansas City in the AFC. They have to play some really tough teams.
Have the Saints number 5, Seattle 6, the Steelers 7th, and Tennessee 8th.
You got the right order. I wouldn't change anything on that order. I think the team I think is dangerous is because of defense. Remember, it still is the Rams. I think Rams defensively are
They just don't have enough offense.
But I think you can win games in the playoffs defensively with that kind of defense.
Yeah, they have a bad weather team, but they're from L.A. I think they want the bad weather.
Great point. They want to run the football.
I watch them struggling, scoring 17, 18 points, 10 points a game. I just don't see the offense being. They don't have a dynamic receiver that scares anyone.
I think Woods and Cup are pretty darn good.
Well, I don't think Goff has been in rhythm with them.
That's the weakness. No,
he hasn't been in rhythm with them.
He's the weakness. He's
you should think every now and then.
I think they might grab Wentz. I think they know Goff isn't the answer.
That'd be a good choice.
No, he's not the answer.
No,
and they have the money.
But he had surgery on his hand. I mean, for 1 week, that's pretty quick comeback.
Yes.
Yeah, and they have the money to do it.
Oh,
hey, in the NFC East, I watched those games, and the Giants 23, Dallas 19. Dallas knocked out Andy Dalton, end zone interception with minute 15 remaining. Plus, he took a sack. He's never been clutch. A veteran quarterback, there's no excuse. He just flipped it up in the air into the end zone, hoping someone would catch it. There were 3 Dallas defenders around the receiver.
Wilt Chamberlain's dead.
Wilt Chamberlain's dead. Right. Michael Jordan's not playing. Harold Carmichael's not playing. Just astonishing to me that a veteran quarterback like that would make that mistake. But that's been Andy Dalton. He looks great. Come clutch time, doesn't do it.
That's who he is. And you said it best. He when threatened with pressure, he throws it up for grabs. And that's a bad trait to have in the NFL because the defensive players love when you throw it up to them.
And the most talked about game, Washington 20, the Eagles 14. Some are calling it in the tank game. You know, Ron Rivera Washington said, if you're expecting me to apologize for this win, I'm not going to do it. He said, ask Pittsburgh what they did. They sat down all their players in a game that meant a lot to Miami. He said no one's criticizing them. The Eagles were down 17-14. They had a 1st and goal down at the 4. On 4th down, they passed up a field goal to tie the game. And then suddenly, Doug Peterson, he pulls his quarterback, Jalen Hurts, who'd rushed for 2 TDs, and put in a guy. I'm going, who is this guy? Nate Sudfeld.
I hate to tell you, I know him from Indiana, but the minute I saw him.
You might have known him.
When he didn't kick the field goal.
I don't grasp it.
Then I realized he was.
Jalen Hurts was upset. But here's the key. Some of the starting offensive linemen were upset, and they went up to Peterson and said, what are you doing? Now they move up from number 9 to number 6 in the draft with that loss. Now I know he doesn't care about the Giants. He could not care less about what they're saying. But how do you evaluate what he did in that game?
Well, I evaluate by what he did to his own team. His own team will never buy in with him again.
Did he lose
yes.
the locker room?
They can never buy in 100%. They might be in 93%, but they'll never buy in 100% with him. Now, whatever he says, they're going to be thinking, does he really mean it? Does he really mean that we're going to play every game to win? Does he really mean that we're going to practice like we're, I don't think they can buy in on it.
It's a good point. No, you can't. And then you get out in front of the media and you say, they know he's lying.
Right.
Not trying.
He said I was trying to win. No,
the
you're
other,
not.
Now, the other guy was only 5 for something, but he can run for a touchdown.
If you're trying to
At any
win,
time.
you put Carson Wentz back in.
Absolutely.
Now,
Wentz wasn't.
here's what I'd like to finish with this by Joe Justice of the Giants. He said, look, we have no excuses. We were 6-10, and we played 16 games. We didn't win enough games. We have no one to blame but ourselves.
And that's why the Giants are going to turn it around.
That's why they
We
are.
have a coach like that says it. Let's not make excuses. I don't
Right.
want to hear excuses.
Yeah.
Win more games, guys. Practice better. Win more games. I can live with that kind of coach.
Hey, college football playoffs, number 1, Alabama, 31, number 4, Notre Dame, 14. Wide receiver Devontae Smith, Rose Bowl record, 7 receptions, 130 yards, 2 TDs. Number 3, Ohio State crushes number 2, Clemson, 49-28. How about quarterback Justin Fields? Throws for 385 and 6 touchdown passes. Clemson's last 2 playoff games, Mac Venables supposed to be this great defensive guru. They've given up 91 points and 1,200 yards. And so now Bama, it's their 5th title game in 7 years. Ohio State, their 2nd. Clemson's been there 4. Here's what I'm saying, guys. We got a college football problem here. Let's look at some of the history of the blowout games. Alabama 38, Michigan State nothing. Clemson 31, Ohio State nothing. Clemson 30, Notre Dame 3. Clemson 44, Alabama 16. LSU 63, Oklahoma 28. LSU 42, Clemson 25. Ohio State 42, Oregon 20. There have been so many blowouts. There have been 3 decent games. The Alabama comeback win against Georgia. Last year, Clemson 29-23 over Ohio State. And Ohio State 42 and Alabama 34. There's no parity here. I don't see why you expand the field. When you look the last 4 years, the teams with the best record, Clemson 51-4, Alabama 49-4, Ohio State 44-4, Notre Dame 43-7. Where do you think those 4 finished in recruiting this year?
It's always.
Yeah.
It's a runaway freight train. It's not changing. That the best teams are getting
Pick
the best
first.
players.
It's just the opposite of the pros. When you're great in college, you pick first.
And that's why I agree with the Knight Commission has come out and said the Power 5, it's time for them to break away from the NCAA and form their own football conference and association. We've said that for a number of years. So, a championship game, Alabama favored by 7.5. Ohio State's Coach Day said that Fields is healthy. He will be playing. Who do you guys like in the game? What's your prediction?
I don't like the game a lot, to tell you the truth. It's because I don't know the real Ohio State. If I knew they were going to play against Clemson, then I'd have them. But I saw them almost lose Northwestern, almost lose to Indiana. Alabama has not been threatened all year, and so I'll take Alabama for that reason. But it's not a strong one.
I'll be able.
I'm gonna go with Ohio State.
I could take the 8 if it got to 8.
Yeah.
That would be the only one.
It's going to get. I think it'll be an interesting game. I don't know what's going to be done with college football, but it's the same thing that's been going on for 7 years. You know, they say, well, Oklahoma gets blown out. Notre Dame's gotten blown out. This team's gotten blown. But who's beating these teams? It's Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State.
It's the best team.
That's the way it's been.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We're glad to be back. We'll see you next week.